Hello, friends. Welcome back to the Film Obsessed Couple. I'm Shelley.
And I'm Scott.
And yeah, we are going to talk about a movie today.
Yeah.
Weird. We've never done that before. I'm kidding.
We're recording this after, I think what we did yesterday is going to come out after this. So we did something a little special. Have we announced it yet?
We've teased that there's something coming.
Okay.
And I was really hoping that it would just be extra content.
Mm-hmm.
But unfortunately, we had to take a tiny step back.
Yes.
And we're going to start doing our movie episodes bi-weekly.
Mm-hmm. Starting in July.
Right. And then the special thing we're doing will just be an added thing. So really, I don't know that there's going to be maybe 1 week a month that's missed of a podcast. So that's not too bad. Yeah. So if you're excited, you're like, oh my goodness, what are they putting out? Join us on social media. You can join us on Instagram, Facebook, Tumblr, and Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
We're all over the place.
Yeah, so little tease there. That's why we're talking about a movie today, because we yesterday did something special.
Mm-hmm. So it's for sure happening.
Yes.
But to know exactly when, join us on social media, because that's where we're going to be posting it.
Yeah, and, you had mentioned it about us kind of cutting back a little bit. It was just a decision that we had made. We were going full force, not feeling like we had much time to do things. I'll come out and say it. I felt that way myself.
Yeah, no. There were so many projects I wanted to do during the summer, school summer, because I don't have any school right now. And it just literally just burnt me out.
Yeah, because, it's only a couple hours, but we're watching a movie, we're recording, we were doing, trying to do multiple episodes when we were free. So, yeah, we decided to cut back a little bit, but we will be doing this other special feature as well. So, like you said, shouldn't really cut back as much as you would think.
Exactly. So there you go. And if you ever have any suggestions for anything, or if you just want to say hi, whatever, you can email us at thefilmobsessedcouple@gmail.com.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll be happy to respond. So far, we haven't got a lot of interaction, but when we do, we are interacting back.
Yeah.
So we will definitely be responding to anything that you send. So the movie we're going to talk about today is called Drag Me to Hell.
Yeah.
Woo!
Great movie.
I did enjoy it.
Yeah, you did?
I did.
Good. Yeah, we had seen Doctor Strange a while back. When we watched it, it was closer to when we watched the movie of Doctor Strange, but now it's a little farther out. But, I was like, you had actually seen this before, but I was like, oh, I can actually point out, hopefully you see some similarities between Doctor Strange and this movie, because Sam Raimi, he likes to have, similar things in here, other than just his car, but like comedy, quick cuts, funny things like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely, there's some comedy in here.
Yeah.
Comedy in a horror movie.
It's like gross out comedy, and when we finished the movie, I showed you that scene in Evil Dead where Ash just laughs in the cabin.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's just silliness, because Sam Raimi and his friends were like huge Three Stooges fans growing up, so they put that silliness into there, but it's also like horror, but they still put that crazy silliness in there. So yeah, the main character is Christine Brown, played by Alison Lohman.
Mm-hmm. And she really had a hard time in this movie. Like in real life.
While filming it?
Yeah, because she had to exert a lot of energy and had to have high adrenaline through this movie and pretty much be scared the whole time. It caused her to have shingles.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that I've never had it, but anybody that I know that's had it, it's just very painful. She also had to take shots of tequila in order to go to sleep at night. Wow. Yeah. So this movie kind of fucked her up a little.
Well, I was smiling at first when you said that, because there are many stories of Sam Raimi like torturing his actors, like Bruce Campbell. This is actually on the trivia. This is the first movie not to feature Bruce Campbell.
Yeah, I have that too. Yeah.
Which good. I actually realized I did not look at the IMDb trivia, so if you did, great.
No.
Well, we'll go with it.
Because you always do. So I didn't.
Shit. I think I can get through it. He's known for punishing Bruce Campbell. Like, torturing him. There's like a scene in Evil Dead 2. He falls in a puddle of mud, and just making him do terrible, terrible things. And, they tell them now as a joke, but gosh, I would have hoped for a lady, or, now this was in 2010, that he would have been like, I was a stupid kid back then. Maybe I won't push him as much as I did when I was
Mm,
just starting.
no, she felt it full force.
Yeah.
We also have Justin Long, who plays Clay, who is Christine's boyfriend.
Yes, I'm looking at the cast here now, and Lorna Raver
Mm-hmm.
plays Mrs. Ganoush,
Mm-hmm.
and she looks completely different.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
than she does in the movie. Just some other minor characters.
Yeah.
Dilip Rao,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was going to say that one.
he plays Ram,
Rom. Mm-hmm.
the psychic, and then David Paymer is her boss at the bank.
Yeah, and then there's Reggie Lee, who plays Stu, which is the coworker that's up for an assistant job.
What has he been in? I've seen that dude before. Oh, he was in Tropic Thunder. I don't know if he played the villain, the main villain. No, I don't think he played the main villain because that was the little kid. But in Tropic Thunder, that's where it's Ben Stiller and Robert Downey Jr., Jack Black, where they think they're
Oh.
in a Vietnam movie, but they drop him and it's real.
Oh, yes.
He's one of the villains in that movie.
Oh, my gosh, that's a good movie.
Yeah, it's very funny.
Yeah, that is hilarious.
Yeah, Stu. He plays the other guy at the bank.
So in this movie, the Raimi brothers wrote the screenplay in the 1990s,
Yeah.
but it didn't actually release until 2009.
When it came out, it was kind of thought of as like a return to form for Sam Raimi because it's like this is what he was famous for, like those Evil Dead movies. The first one, Evil Dead, his very first movie, I think I'm almost positive, but very very cheap. They had like
right.
no money. It was in a cabin. Evil Dead 2, more money, more production value. But that's how he got his name made, is he was making these horror movies with like this comedy, but like gross
Yeah.
out. And then he went and did his own thing, and he did other things, and kind of moved away from that. He did the Spider-Man movies,
Oh,
Spider-Man, the first one with Tobey Maguire, Spider-Man 1, 2, and 3 of those trilogies, and then yeah, he did this, and people were like, "Wow, he's back. He's kind of doing his thing again."
Mm-hmm.
Which I guess people are saying that online about Doctor Strange, where they're like, "Oh, it's nice to see Sam Raimi doing this kind of stuff again."
Yeah.
Spoilers, when he becomes a zombie in Doctor Strange, that made me really feel like this movie.
Oh, yeah. That could be why I was not as into the new Doctor Strange.
Mm.
Doctor Strange as I thought I was going to be. It was just a little weird.
Yeah.
I don't know. It wasn't what I was expecting, and I didn't really want the comedy part of it.
Yeah, it wasn't what I was expecting either. They only really stay in one area of the multiverse. They said multiverse of madness. I thought they were going to be going to different places throughout, but they really only stay in one. The brief parts where it's like Sam Raimi, there's the scene where they're standing in the Buddhist temple at the beginning of Doctor Strange when Wanda's breaking in, and like doors are shutting really quickly, and they're like looking around. That felt very
Yeah.
Sam Raimi to me,
Right.
but I enjoyed seeing that stuff just because I grew up on it. So it was
Yeah.
nice to see those. So yeah, this movie starts with the old Universal logo, just making it feel kind of like an old 70s or 80s movie.
Mm-hmm. Because that's kind of when it started out. That's the year it started out in 1969. Good year.
I knew it. I was going to say it. Yes, we opened in Pasadena, California in 1969 in this house, this kind of mansion-looking house. My God.
Yeah.
This woman who is apparently like a psychic or something, she must be making some good-ass money because this is a fucking mansion.
Yeah, right? That's what I was thinking.
But this couple, this Mexican couple pulls up in like a truck and they're asking for help from this lady. They're like, "We need your help." This guy, I was reading online a little bit. They say that this movie doesn't hold up very well because of the way that it portrays like the Romani people. They're like gypsies. They'll put a curse on you for anything.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, I guess. But, there's old movies like I think The Wolfman, the gypsies put a curse, or there's like I don't know if gypsy is that's what they say in the movie, and that's what I'll say here, okay?
Yeah, we're sorry if it's a negative.
We're not putting it,
Word.
we're not using it as a
No.
derogatory term.
Not at all.
But yeah, people were like, it's a little rough, where if you cross a gypsy, they're going to send you to hell. But yes, the couple, the man and the woman, the husband and wife, they pull out their son from the back of this truck, and he's like in a blanket, like freaking the fuck out.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, you can tell like the kid is sick or something crazy's going on.
Yeah, it's like he's hallucinating, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And the woman, her name is Sean Sandina,
Okay.
the psychic lady.
Okay. She's the one that has the big house.
Yes. And she's like, "What happened?" And the parents are like, "Well, he stole something from a cart where gypsies were selling something.
Mm-hmm.
He stole it, and he tried to give it back, but they cursed him."
Yep. They were like, nope, you're cursed.
Yes. No kids will be kids here.
Nope. Yeah, he stole a necklace.
Yeah, stole a necklace and from a gypsy wagon, and they would not take it back.
Yikes.
So she's like, "We'll bring him inside. We'll help him." And he sees like there's some cool scenes in here. He looks at like the stained glass window that they have all around this house, and he sees like hands, kind of creeping at his corners. He's like freaking out.
Yeah, this scene went pretty quick.
Yeah, I did not remember this scene from when I first watched this. I've seen it a few times, but
yeah.
I was like, "Oh, is this an extended scene?" I don't remember, but it plays with the rest of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very funny. This is Sam Raimi stuff, like directly because the doors break open of the house, and like the mom, the dad, and the psychic lady are getting like bitch slapped.
Yes.
Like, choo, choo, choo. Like that is 100% Sam Raimi comedy. But the son gets taken and he gets thrown over the balcony because they're like on the second floor.
Mm-hmm.
And the Sean Sen Dima, that's that strange name. She looks over the balcony and sees like the little boy. He's like on the ground on the first floor, and the floor opens up and takes this kid to hell.
Yeah, and you could see like the fiery pits when the floor opens up. It's just a big old fire, and he's burning as he goes in.
Yeah, very fucking crazy. Like we start with the death of a kid.
Yeah, like
And
whoa.
It's like he is in hell for reals.
That's happening.
So the next scariest part is we now open in present day. Well, 2010 present day. We're in California still, I assume?
I don't know that it said.
Well, they go to the lady later, so they must be. But it shows Christine, the main character, driving on a 10-lane highway.
Yeah.
Coming into work.
And she's listening to this, I don't know, she's a recording. And it's like she was repeating what the recording said. It says, "There is no friction with the proper addiction, and good sounds abound when the mouth is round."
Now, my guess with this is that she's trying to lose her accent. I'm assuming they never say anything about it, but she does mention how she's like from the South or whatever.
Yeah.
She used to be like a queen of the folk festival or whatever.
She grew up on a farm.
Yeah, I'm imagining that she was trying to lose her accent.
Oh, wow.
She's like, the mouth is round. Like, the mouth is round.
Wow. Okay.
I'm assuming. They never say it.
That makes total sense. I was just kind of like, I don't know what this is. Is she like an actor and she's trying to pronunciate her words? But that makes sense. If you're going to change your accent, then that would be part of it.
I'm assuming because, we get the backstory of her later is that she's trying to leave this past behind.
Mm-hmm.
So she works at a bank, and her boss is David Paymer. Mr. Jax is what his name is.
Mm-hmm.
She is fighting against the other guy we mentioned, Stu, for the assistant manager position at the bank.
Right. And I think it's kind of shitty of her boss, the way he acts. He's
Yeah.
like, oh, I don't know who's going to get it.
Yeah, he's definitely playing them against each other.
Mm-hmm.
And Stu is a huge kiss ass. He's like, I don't know if it's here, but it's later. He gives him a gift. I think that's later.
Yeah, it's a little later.
But he's a huge kiss ass in this scene. And they pull a really shitty thing because the boss, Mr. Jax, is like, "Oh, Christine, are you cool with taking your lunch now?" This is like later in the day.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, "Absolutely. Absolutely."
Yeah, she's like, "I'm all for it. Yeah, anything you say."
And he's like, "Great, will you get me a sub from that sandwich shop I like?" And Stu comes in. He's like, "Oh, and get me one too."
Yeah. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And then he was like, "But I need mine with spicy mustard."
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's a really good choice, but you're an asshole.
Yeah, and what I would do then if I were her, and I know she's trying to get a fucking promotion, but I'd be like, "Okay, great, money."
Yeah.
I'd be like, "I'm not buying sandwiches for both of you."
I'm cool with that. You're going to have to pay me and tip me.
Yes. It's probably going to be like $15 and I'm going to need a 20.
Yeah.
And there's no change.
There we go.
This we see her meet Justin Long. He's like a professor.
I have no idea. I didn't get it. He was just in an office.
I think he's a psychology professor because we'll get to it, but I think he's a psychology professor.
Okay.
But yeah, I don't know if he's just starting. It sounds like he's just starting working here. But Christine brings him lunch and she's talking to him and they're in his office and she brings him a coin. She's like, "Oh, I found this coin for your coin collection."
Yeah, being in a bank, she would do that.
And he's like, "A 1929 coin? Whoa, oh my
Holy
God."
shit.
So yeah, they seem like they have a good relationship, or they really do love each other.
Yeah, you can tell that they definitely have a connection.
Yeah, so she's like, "I gotta get back. We'll see you later." And as she leaves, the phone rings, and I don't know. I don't trust people that, well, not trust, but I don't like people that do this where they talk over the phone on speakerphone.
Yes.
Again, my parents, they will never listen to this, but they will talk to me on speakerphone while we're like in Walmart.
I absolutely do not like that.
It's just like, well, I don't want people to hear my
It's
business.
too public.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he was doing that. And I'm like, what the fuck you doing, man?
Well, it leads to this situation. But yeah, my parents will be like, oh, yeah, we were sick the other day and, oh, my stomach hurts. And I'm like, are you in Walmart? I can hear other people. Am I on speakerphone? That should be illegal.
You should always assume you're on speakerphone with your parents.
Yeah. Oh,
even if they're at home, they still have speaker on.
there is a scene right here, and it doesn't really matter to anything, but she fixes his printer. I guess she's meant to show that she's handy.
Oh,
But
okay.
her boyfriend
that's
is
right.
like, this printer is dead. We have to get a new one. And she pulls like a paperclip out of it.
Then he was like, "You're a genius."
I guess it's to show she's handy. I don't know.
There you go.
But yes, no, her boyfriend Clay is talking to his mom on speakerphone, and she's walking away, but she stops because she hears him, and he's like, "Oh yeah, Christine and I were just talking or whatever," and she's like, "Really, Christine, you're still with that?"
Yeah, you need to stop playing around with farm girls.
Yeah, and you need to get serious, and she's like, "Oh, I've got a nice lady." She's like,
A lawyer.
"Yeah, someone you really need to be with," and Christine walks away with tears in her eyes.
Yeah.
But Clay is sticking up for her.
No, exactly.
He's like, "Mom, no, what are you talking about?"
Yeah, it's not about their status.
Yeah.
It's what's in their heart.
Yeah, exactly. So she comes back and it shows her boss and Stu eating in the break room. And goddamn it, Stu pulls a really fucking shitty move on her. He's like, "I said no mayo," and she's like, "No, you didn't." And he's like, yes, I did."
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, "If you would have said no mayo, I would have gotten you no mayo. You didn't." And I was like, goddamn, trying to make her look incompetent in front of the boss.
Yeah, and good for her for sticking up for herself.
Yeah.
Because she seems a little like a pushover. But she really stood up, and I'm just all like, you get it, girl. He did not ask for mayo. I saw the whole thing.
Yeah, we watched it. But God, what a power move, though, trying to make the other person look bad in front of you.
Yeah.
God.
And this is where Stu gives the manager tickets.
Yeah, he's like, "Oh, I heard you're a huge Lakers fan, and I can't use these tickets." And it's so funny because the boss, Mr. Jax, is like, "These seats are where they bring the hot dogs right to you."
Oh my gosh.
So Christine, I think when she talks to her boss earlier, I think he says something to the effect of her, like, "We need somebody who can make the tough decisions."
Mm-hmm.
And Stu, I guess, can do that, or he has seen that Stu is not afraid to make tough decisions.
Right. And he probably can tell that she is a little bit of a pushover and maybe gives extensions or loans to people that are, borderline,
Yeah.
so.
Which is like your bank. I get making tough choices, but like if you can do it, do it.
Right. Yeah, they should have certain guidelines that they have to follow, and if you're in those guidelines, you got it.
Which they make a very good case for turning this lady down here in a minute.
Mm-hmm.
Where I'm like, okay, well, why would you feel bad about having to do this?
Nope, it makes total sense. Yep.
So she's looking off in the distance, and then she hears the nails on the desk. It's like,
Drumming.
She looks and she's these nasty ass fingernails like drumming on her desk, and it's Mrs. Ganush, this gypsy lady.
Old lady. Very old.
And she's got like her babushka on, like the little head covering, covering her hair, and one of her eyes is gone. It's like white.
Yeah, like cataract or something.
Something. It looks messed up, yeah.
Because she's old.
I guess. She's also coughing up yellow liquid. She's like coughing into her napkin or something.
This is disgusting.
Everything about this lady is so gross, what they have her do.
Yes.
So she's like, well, I need more time to get money for my house. She's like, oh, I was sick and the sickness took my eye.
Yeah, she's asking for an extension.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Christine goes to her boss to talk to him for a minute, and Mrs. Ganush takes her teeth out to eat candy.
Yes.
And it's like got spit all over it.
Like you can see the slime and the slobber just coming off of it.
Yeah, it's like really just making it as gross.
Oh yeah. And it had the noises just like Scott made, and it was just like blah.
But yeah, she goes to talk to Mr. Jax, and she's like, this lady's in a real hard time, and this is where her boss gives her really good advice, or tells her what will happen. They were like, we've given her as many extensions as we are allowed. You know, if we did it
Mm-hmm.
again, we would be taking penalties on. Like, we would have to pay fees and penalties for doing this.
Right.
So I'm like, well, if that's the case, then, you know, it sucks.
He does end up saying, hey, it's a tough call, but it's your choice.
Yeah.
So he did give the decision to her, but let her know, what it's going to cost the bank.
Right, and there is a funny scene while she's in his office where the gypsy takes, or Mrs. Ganoush, I'll stop trying to say gypsy, where Mrs. Ganoush takes all the candy out of her bowl. She dumps it in her
She
purse.
dumps it all. Like, she doesn't just take a handful. She literally picks up the bowl and dumps it into her purse, which was hilarious.
It's pretty funny. So they have a little bit of an argument here because she tells her, she's like, I'm sorry, you know, there's nothing we could do. We've reached the max of what we can do on our side. And you know, Mrs. Ganoush, she gets up and she was like, you know, I've never begged. And she gets on her knees and she's like, but I am begging you now, please, please, please.
Yeah, your heart really goes out for this lady.
Yeah.
I mean, you're just like, oh, this poor old lady. I'm sure it's tough, but dang, you've already had so many.
I know, those are the tough decisions, you know. It's like you don't want to have to make them, but
No.
the movie makes a good case for like everything they tried.
Yep.
But she's like, oh, she says something about like, this is my house, you know, I've lived here forever. And she starts to kiss Christine's, like, the bottom of her dress or her skirt.
Or something.
And Christine pulls away and Mrs. Ganoush like falls on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
And she was pissed. She's like, I beg to you and you shame me? She's like, you'll shame me in front of all these people?
Now the begging old lady, nice old lady, turns into like, what just happened?
A demon, yeah, pretty much.
Oh my gosh.
Because Mrs. Ganoush like starts to walk away and Christine's like, I'm sorry. And Mrs. Ganoush turns around and like flies at her.
Yeah.
She's like, So they take, like, security escorts the lady out. In the background here, in the front of the building, this is one of the first times you see it, but the car, Sam Raimi's car, is hers, is Miss Ganoush's.
Yeah.
It's parked in front of the building.
Mm-hmm.
For those people that don't know Sam Raimi, his car, they call it the Old Classic. I don't know the exact model of it, but it's been in nearly, if not, it's been in every movie that he has done.
It's like a yellow
Oldsmobile.
Oldsmobile.
Yes. Yes. You're right. Now you're absolutely right.
Hey.
In Doctor Strange too, it is in there at the end when they're in the universe where the world has like disintegrated. Basically, it's like floating in the sky. Like he looks out the window and sees like all this stuff floating in the distance, and somewhere in there the car is like someone pointed it out, but it's like floating.
Oh boy.
So yeah, it's very funny.
That is kind of neat.
There's even a scene like he did a movie. Sam Raimi did a movie in the West called The Quick and the Dead.
Mm-hmm.
And they say that the car is in there somewhere, even though it wouldn't have existed then. It's like,
oh wow,
they used parts of it to like make a wagon or something, or there's rumors that it's like hidden under a sheet somewhere in like a barn.
But it's there.
Yeah,
that's funny.
and we watched a video before we watched Doctor Strange because I was like, okay, there's some things that he does that you should watch out for. But yeah, we watched like an 8-minute video of showing like every time that car has appeared.
Yeah, it was really neat.
But Christine's boss, Mr. Jax, is like, you made the right call. It's like, good for you. He's like, can you finish? He's like, that proposal that you put up here for some big loan that we're trying to get. He's like, can you finish that? Can you take that home and work on it tonight?
Yeah, and she like lights up. She's
Yeah.
like, yes, I'll take it home. Yeah, I'll work on it.
Yeah, and
I'm
him
just
being
like, oh wow.
yeah, and him being a huge asshole was like, I'd like to say you're at the top of the list for this promotion.
I know, right?
Just fucking playing her.
You get this, loan through and all this proposal stuff done, and you do all the work. I'm gonna take the credit, and you might get the assistant job.
Yeah, handled it very poorly.
Yeah.
So Christine, she's walking to her car. It's like in this parking garage, and she sees Sam Raimi's car, the Mrs. Ganoush's car in the movie, and she hears the old lady coughing in the distance.
Yeah, because she recognized the car.
Yeah,
and she's all like, "Oh fuck."
She's like, "Has that car been? That car was in Spider-Man. That car was in The Evil Dead."
Like, I've seen this in other movies.
Oh shit, am I in a movie? She gets into her car. This I did not think looked very good, but the handkerchief the old lady had like floats by her car, and it's very bad CGI.
Yeah, I did like how like you're following the handkerchief, and then it goes to the back of the car, and she kind of follows it, and then she sees Miss Ganoush.
Yeah, in this, I would think that any other movie it would be quick. Like you would see her and she would attack, but the movie holds on her for a bit. We see her in the back seat, and you're like, beep, beep, beat, then she attacks. Like you see her and you're like, oh shit.
And I don't remember. I need to put like when I do a jump scare because I don't remember.
Yeah.
That seems like a spot that I would probably scream out.
I think so. Yeah, you have this thing where when something makes you jump, you're like, whoop.
So I try not to do it in the theaters though.
Yeah. Our dog Lily, if she's like sleeping on the couch with us, she'll get off the couch and go to her crate when you do that.
Yeah, because it scares her. She doesn't like loud noises.
Yeah,
or
we're like,
anything.
oh, it's fine, just a scary moment.
I do this often. It's fine.
You think she would get used to it by now?
No.
But they have this fight, and this is the real Sam Raimi kind of madness.
Yes.
Because Mrs. Ganoush is like strangling her from the back seat, and Christine grabs like whatever she has in her bag, and it's a stapler, and she's like stapling this lady with she gets her in the eye.
In the head, yeah, in the forehead, and in the eye.
And she's like, it's like tick, 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 tick.
I mean, holy fuck.
And I think you were kind of cringing at this point, but I was just laughing because I'm like, this is madness. Like, this is the madness that Sam Raimi does so well.
I'm cringing right now because I'm remembering everything. It's just like, wow.
Yeah. Well, she drives off and she crashes, and Mrs. Ganoush pulls some of her hair out.
Yeah.
At this point, which is a running gag as well.
She shouldn't have any hair by the end of this movie.
Yeah. So she starts driving. She puts her seatbelt on and starts flooring the car, and she floors it into another parked car in the garage. And Mrs. Ganoush, I think she opens her eyes right before she crashes because the staple comes out.
Yes.
She sees that they're about to crash, and she's like, "Oh!" It's like, "Bing!"
It's a little comedy thing there, and I was like, "That's funny."
And she, Christine crashes, and Mrs. Ganoush flies out the window.
No, I thought she just flew into the passenger seat.
Oh, you're absolutely correct. Yeah, she just flies into the front passenger seat.
Yeah, and her teeth fly out as well.
Oh, those
with all the spit. Yuck.
Because yes, I think she jumps up and she like bites her in the mouth too, doesn't she?
Yeah, she starts gumming Christine in the chin.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, it's fucking crazy because Christine again grabs for whatever she's got. And she gets a ruler and jams it down her mouth.
Mm-hmm. And then, of course, gotta have some comedy. Miss Ganoush spits the ruler out of her mouth. Christine moves her head just in time for it to hit her window and crack her window.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, a funny thing about this whole episode is that Christine and Miss Ganoush are really going at it.
Yeah.
Like, really. Because that's how Raimi likes to do it. They also created the car like a puzzle where the front, back, sides, and even the roof would come off so that you can get all the close-up shots and the right angles.
Oh, wow.
Because everything was kind of filmed in the car
as
difficult. They were fighting. So they had to make the car pull apart so they could get, so you're not like looking through the window.
Yeah, that's very
doors
interesting.
In the way. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, they have to really think about that stuff because they're like, we're going to film a fight scene in a car. Well, how are we going to do that?
Yeah, it's going to have to come apart.
Well, Christine opens her door and kicks Miss Ganoush out and closes the door, and she's like, I beat you, you old bitch.
Yeah.
That's what she says. And, Miss Ganoush, she like flies up again and breaks the window and pulls Christine out of the car.
Man.
And she rips a button off of her coat and she like enchants it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Does she say words here, or is it just kind of like her breathing on the button?
I think she says some words. I honestly did not write it, and I don't remember.
Well, yeah, she might. But anyway, she's like, soon it will be you who comes begging to me.
Mm-hmm.
And she gives the button back to Christine.
I'd be like, no thanks, you keep it.
Well, Christine passes out here, and then when she wakes up, the old woman is gone.
Mm-hmm.
Her car is gone. She's not there. And there's a nice scene where it shows her standing there with the police, like in the garage, and then Justin Long shows up and they hug.
Right. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I bet the police are like, so an old lady did this?
Yeah. They're like, well, it was a gypsy, and this is a movie. Like, oh, yeah.
Now that's more believable.
So they're walking, and Justin Long seems pretty nice here. He's like, I'm going to get your boss, get somebody to walk you to your car every night after this.
Aww.
And the wind, like, picks up here and kind of spooks her. It's like evil wind, I guess.
Yeah, gotta watch out for that wind.
It's coming.
It's happening.
Yes, it's the happening. But they are in front of a fortune teller here now, and Christine's just like, I want to get my fortune told.
Yeah, and Clay's like, oh my God, seriously?
Yeah. It would be me. This would be me.
I'd be like, it's fun. Come on. I
Like,
know. I know it. I don't know. I kind of want to believe in things like that, but then I'm sure that's just like a fortune
Yeah.
cookie. You open it up and it's just kind of for everybody.
You've had hard times.
Well,
Well,
who
duh.
hasn't?
Yeah. So, but yeah, he's like, they go into the shop and he's like making fun of everything that's in there. And I just wrote in my notes, like, this is how I would be.
Mm-hmm.
The guy, Dilip Rao, who plays Ram,
Mm-hmm.
he comes out and he's like, hello. And Christine's like, I'm Christine and this is my boyfriend Clay. And Justin Long's like, well, you probably already knew that though, right?
Right.
That's how I would be. I'd be like, oh, really? You're a fortune teller. What do I have in my hand?
Uh-huh.
This, for 2010, was crazy that fortune teller charges $60 a reading.
I thought that was a little high too.
Yeah.
I was expecting like maybe 20. I would pay 20.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. I was like, whoa, $60. But
Mm-hmm.
Justin Long hands him his American Express card, and Rom's like, platinum card, very good. But they sit down, and Justin Long's in the back kind of making fun of all this as it goes on. But Rom's is reading her palm, and he's like, you work with money. And she's like, oh my God.
You are a psychic.
Yeah.
I can't believe it.
And he's like, something has been taken from you. And she's like, no. And he's like, you've lost something? She's like, no. He's like, oh, something's been taken from you? And she's like, oh, my button.
Yeah.
She's like, the old lady took the button off my jacket.
So, yeah.
So the wind in the room picks up, and you see this mirror or like a picture frame in the back start to crack. And then you get a jump scare again here with the flash of the demon's face.
Yes.
And Roms gets freaked out. He's like, we're done here. I'll give you your money back.
Yeah, that I was like, oh, wow. It was nice that he wanted to refund their money. But yeah, when he saw that little devil guy, I'm like, holy fuck.
Yeah, because he's like, have you defaced a tombstone? She's like, no. He's like, have you played with a Ouija board? She's like, no. And he's like, He's like, well, perhaps someone has cursed you. He's like, there's a dark spirit over you. So it shows them driving, and Justin Long's trying to pep her up, or trying to, pump her up a little bit, where he's like, that dude's a con artist. And she's like, well, why did he try to give the money back? Why did he try to give it back? And he's like, well, he took it in the end.
Oh, wow. She wants to believe it so bad.
Yeah. So we get to her house. I think they live together.
I don't think so.
No, because he spends the night. But yeah, you're probably right. I don't think they do, because they get home and there's this tiny little kitten walking around.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, hello, baby. And I had an immediate flashback to what happens to this cat as soon as I saw it.
Oh.
And I was like, oh, God, this cat.
I didn't remember. I was just like, it looks like our Barry.
It does. It looks exactly like our cat Barry
Yeah.
we've got. But yeah, I was like, oh, fuck me. I just remembered it. But we see her house, and Evil, I think she's by herself at this point, because Clay, I think, says he's going to talk to the cops or something. Or
He said he had to go grab something.
Yeah.
I'm guessing he went back to his place to get some things to then come back
stay
and
with her.
stay the night with her.
Yeah. Because we hear, like, Evil chanting, and the wind's blowing.
And it has got to be like midnight by this time.
Probably.
It was late when she left her work, and then she got attacked, and then she went and got her palm read, and I'm like, holy crap, you got to work tomorrow.
Yeah.
Girl, you best go to bed.
You talk to the cops, that's going to take a while.
Yeah.
But it shows her she's baking a cake. She's got, like, this recipe book, and, like, a picture falls out of her. And I want to know if this is CGI or if this is her, but it's her. It's a photo of her, and the picture says Pork Queen for this 1995 fair.
Yeah, she's standing next to a pig.
And she's chunky. She's a young, chunky kid.
So I was like, oh, okay, so you used to be chunky.
Yeah.
So what?
I don't know. She's just embarrassed by her life. By how her life was.
Seems like.
And, not to go off on a rant on this here, but I can't believe people today are like saying, if you want to lose weight, that you're fat phobic. Have you heard of that?
No.
It's ridiculous. They're like, you're saying these people aren't good enough as they are, or you're racist. Well, not racist, but like you're saying mean things against fat people because you're like, I want to lose weight. It's ridiculous.
Wow.
It's like, yes, I want to feel healthy and maybe live a little bit longer. That's not, I'm not saying people that are fat are terrible. It's just I don't feel good.
Right. Yeah. I want to feel healthier, and having all this extra weight doesn't feel good.
So I'm sure people today, if somebody like watched this movie again, all it would take is for one person to be like, she is fat phobic. She sees that fat picture of her as a kid, and she's like, "Oh my god, I was a monster." So she hears a bunch of squeaking and everything in her house. Like the house seems to be kind of moving and creaking, and she looks outside, and her gate is like moving, creaking back and forth, and
Mm-hmm.
all the pots and pans start blowing in the kitchen, and the power goes out.
Yeah, that's never a good sign.
Yeah,
If that ever happens, I'm running out of this house.
I know.
Out.
That's like that scene in Paranormal Activity 2 where it shows the mom like standing in the kitchen and all the fucking pots and pans just fall onto the table.
Yes.
I was like, and what's crazy is that she just, in the movie, she jumps and she screams and then she starts putting everything back. She's like, okay, I have to deal with this. I can't just run. But in the movie, I'd be running.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Or if you walk in the kitchen and all the doors are open,
Yeah.
all the cupboards are open, yeah, I'm out.
Yeah, or in Poltergeist, the chairs are stacked on the
Yes.
table.
Yep, out.
There's a really funny thing, a website called spill.com, and they used to do movie reviews back in the day.
Oh.
And it was a funny one. They did the first Paranormal Activity, and he's like, the man who did it was black, Corey Coleman, very funny guy. But he was like, let me do Paranormal Activity if the couple in the movie was a black couple. Spooky shit happens, we're gone.
We're getting the hell out of here.
Yes. Well, she grabs a flashlight and she sees like a dark shape move across the wall into the form of like a goat.
Yeah.
And then it slaps her in the face.
Really like slapping people.
I guess, yeah. So it shows her later, like Justin Long has returned and he's freaking out thinking that like the old lady returned
Yeah.
and hit her again.
I can't believe she came back. And then Christine's like, but she didn't. Nobody was here.
And he's like, well, who hit you? Who did this?
And yeah, so that's when I guess Clay calls a doctor.
It's like a friend of his, I think, yeah. Because
okay.
they're talking outside her room and she's like sitting in her bedroom and they think that she just had maybe like a reaction for PTSD from the attack that she had.
Oh, maybe. Another thing I thought was interesting is when she was getting slapped around by the demon, she got a busted lip.
Mm-hmm.
But when the doctor came and saw her lip was no longer busted.
Oh my god, this movie shit.
Mm-hmm.
No.
Can't. No. It's just a small thing that they missed.
Yeah.
No big deal. It happens.
Well, Clay and her talk, and he's like, you know what we should do this weekend? We should get the fuck away, and let's go to my parents' cabin in the woods, and just stay there and hang out.
Yeah, cabin in the woods. That sounds relaxing.
Well, dude, I was like, oh my god, this
Not
movie
spooky at all.
This movie would have been 10 times better if at the end they go to the cabin and Ash from Evil Dead is there. It's just a connection to Sam Raimi's other movie.
That's funny.
Well, Ash would help him. He knows how to deal with things. He'd be like, we're being chased by a demon, Ash. He'd be
Hell
like,
yeah.
groovy.
He's like, I got this.
So they're sleeping, and then a fly like lands
Oh.
on her face.
Dear. Here's another one that I'm just like, my stomach's turning a little.
Yeah, it keeps landing on her face, and then eventually it just goes up her nose, and you can like still hear it.
It's like,
It's like, like you can hear it in the thing.
and the whole time I was thinking, just don't go in the eye. Just don't go in the eye.
Well, it comes out of her nostril and goes into her mouth.
Yes. And that's almost just as bad. I don't
Yeah.
know.
And that's when she wakes up and she's like, "Oh my god, what a terrible dream."
She kind of chokes on it. That's
Yeah.
why she wakes up.
And she lays back down and Mrs. Ganoush is sleeping right next to her. And she gets on top of Christine and vomits like bugs all over her.
Yeah, it was like maggots.
Like in her mouth.
Yeah, which I read is actually pasta. It was pasta.
Oh, okay.
In the film, it was pasta. So what was going in her mouth was actually something she could eat.
Yeah.
But if it was coming out of her mouth, out of Miss Ganoush's mouth, I don't want to eat it.
Maybe it was a dummy or something. I don't know.
Oh, it could be, yeah. That'd be funny if Rami was like, "Yeah, this is really gonna have to happen."
Yeah. He's very soft-spoken, Raimi is, and he's just like...
Rami. I always say it wrong. I don't know why I want to say Rami.
I don't know. But maybe he's soft-spoken, so he'd be like, well, yes, she's going to have to vomit into your mouth.
Well, make sure it's pasta.
It's not pasta.
Well, just tell her it's...
There was a mix-up when we did this, and yeah, it turned out it was real. Maggots. You swallowed some of that shit? Oh, boy.
Oh, boy.
So she wakes up from this dream, and she's freaking out, and I'm like, what time is it here? It looks like it's noon outside.
Right?
It's like bright outside, sunny.
Maybe it's Sunday because the banks don't open until... Or no, Saturday because the banks don't open until, like, late.
Oh, maybe so, because I was like, yeah, she goes to work.
I don't know. Yeah, she does.
Because, yeah, Justin Long drops her off at the bank, and he's like, try not to piss off any more gypsy ladies today.
Mm-hmm.
She's like, I was assaulted. That's hilarious.
Yeah.
But Christine sits down at her desk, and she hears the fly in her stomach.
Ugh.
Like, zzz.
Ugh.
So Stu comes in. The asshole Stu comes, and he's like bitching at her for coming in late.
Yeah.
And he was like, whoa, Christine. He's like, you can just come in whenever you want or whatever. And I'm like, first off, I'd be like, you're not my boss. Second off, I was assaulted yesterday.
Yeah. Twice. The one's in here, inside the building, and then outside of my car.
Yeah, I guess, but she's kind of hallucinating around. She hears noises and stuff, and Stu's just kind of talking shit to her. She hears that the nails again, that
Mm-hmm.
and she sees on the desk it's Mrs. Ganoush's hand while Stu is yelling at her.
Yeah.
And he's threatening to go to the boss against her for coming in late or whatnot. And she eventually just cracks, and she's like, "Get your filthy pig knuckle off my desk!" I was like, "Pig knuckle?"
Like, oh, you're not gonna get rid of your farming self, your farmer self.
Yeah, I guess not. Well, this is another funny scene because her boss comes over to talk to her, and she has like a little bit of a nosebleed, and then it just like sprays pretty much all of the blood in her body out on this guy.
This was just a little much.
Yeah.
But it was funny because, you know, the manager was all like, "Oh my gosh, are you okay?" And she was kind of turned to the side.
Yeah.
And then she turns around and she pulls her hand out a little bit, and you can just see everything spraying right at him. And it's just like, it's like when you hold the end of a hose, like when you put your thumb over it, and it just increases this pressure and sprays. That's what it was like. It was, wow.
It is so funny. I think it sprays him a couple times.
Uh-huh.
And then you hear him in the background. He's like, "Did any of it get in my mouth?"
Yeah. I hope not.
Yeah. I'm going to need a blood test from you. I swallowed a lot of your blood.
Oh, man. Yeah, just to be safe.
So Christine runs out, and Stu in the background steals her big binder, her loan proposal that she was working on.
He's like, "I'll just take this, thank you."
Yoink. So Christine now goes to the Mrs. Ganoush's house. And because you see her car, the Raimi's car, in the driveway.
She's like, "I'm just going to meet this head on. I'm going to go back to her."
Yeah, and it's just like, she has chicken bones as a wind chime or something like that on her porch.
Yeah, it was a pretty ran down house.
Yeah, it's all nasty. So she opens the door, and this young lady answers, and she's like, "Oh, I'm trying to see Miss Ganoush," and the daughter knows immediately who she is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
she's like,
it was the granddaughter of Miss Ganoush that answered.
Yeah, and she's like, "Well, I can get your house back and make it right." And, the granddaughter kind of laughs and lets her inside.
Mm-hmm. Before she lets her inside, she does mention, she's like, "You used to be a real fat girl, didn't you?"
Oh, yeah.
And I'm just all like, what?
Used to be a fat girl.
Why are we pulling up this fat thing?
I don't know. It's just something, it's her insecurities, I guess. I don't know, but I don't know how you can tell that. Like, if somebody who's lost weight and be like, "You used to be very fat, huh?" Be like, "I was a girl. Like, I hit I hit puberty, and then I, lost it."
Exactly. It happens.
It didn't happen to me, but it happens to people.
I know. It didn't happen to me either. I've been chunky most of my life.
So this is where you can kind of make a case for it being not too kind to the Romani people, because she walks down the house, she goes into like the kitchen area, and there's a bunch of gypsy people in the background gambling.
Oh boy.
They're like taking each other's money and gambling with cards and stuff, and but then there's also other people in there that are like eating this big feast.
Mm-hmm. I didn't know what was going on. I totally forgot. I'm like, well, what the hell? Is she like having a flashback of when Miss Ganoush used to live there?
Yeah.
And this is a party that she was throwing, but no, it wasn't that at all.
No, it's a wake.
Yeah.
It's her wake because, she sees the terrible dummy of Mrs. Ganoush in this casket.
Yeah, because she'd be dead.
The dummy doesn't look that great.
It doesn't. But I understand why it has to be a dummy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Christine trips somehow and falls into this casket, and the body of Miss Ganoush like falls on her. And I'm assuming it's all the embalming fluid
yeah, that's what I put.
Comes out of her mouth all over Christine again.
Yeah, in her mouth. Like mouth to mouth
it's
again.
Insane.
When Christine fell, she fell on the casket, and then the casket was on a table, and the table leg broke, which caused the casket and Christine to fall.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's how Miss Ganoush got on top of her and all of her fluids went into Christine's mouth.
I guess. The people at this wake pull the body off of her, trying to put it back up,
Yeah.
and her hand, Miss Ganoush's hand, like grabs some of her hair.
Yes, I forgot. Yeah. Yanks some more of her hair out.
Jesus. So I think we cut now where it's just Christine is at the fortune teller, Rom's place, and he was like, "I think you've been cursed by the Lamia."
Mm-hmm.
He's like, "The Lamia is a demon summoned by gypsies for revenge."
Holy shit.
It's like the gypsies, they take something, they curse it, and they give it back to you. And she's like, "Oh shit, the button from my jacket. She took it and gave it back to me."
Yikes.
And she's like, "Well, what can I do? Like, how can I get through this?" And he's like, I don't know, like a sacrifice of a small animal.
She's like, he said, you gotta keep the demon happy.
Yeah.
So it like sacrifices.
Yeah. It was like, maybe you can please it or appease it, you know? And
Mm-hmm.
he gives her a book on animal sacrifices.
And she's like, I'm a vegetarian. I don't kill animals.
Yes.
And then that's when he's like, you'll be surprised what you'll do
Whenever
this thing starts coming for you.
Yeah, so we cut to her at her house and she's reading it, and this cat, like, I think she shoos it off the table or something.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely foreshadowing what's coming.
Yeah, I was like, I even put in my notes, don't kill the kitty.
Yeah.
Like, no. Poor kitty.
She hears noises again in her house, and this is a very cool camera trick where it shows her standing and the frame's like her standing in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
And as she hears more and more noises, the camera frame starts to tilt.
Oh, yeah.
So it's definitely give you like an unease, like weird shit's going on.
Something's going to happen.
And I think she runs upstairs and she sees like the shadow of this goat demon on the wall, like creeping up the stairs towards her.
And you can hear the hooves on the staircase as it's going up. And I'm just like, wow.
Very, very cool. Yeah, she calls Justin Long, but it shows him in his office and his phone is like facing away from him. He doesn't see it. And there's a very cool part right here where she's in her room. She shuts the door and she sees like the hoofs like show up. She sees the shadows of the hoofs.
Shadows, yeah. Oh, wow. That was kind of neat.
And she looks at her phone to try and make a phone call and like flashes the face of Mrs. Ganoush real quick on her phone screen, and then the phone goes dead.
Yeah, and you could just see the battery of it just boop.
It's a boop.
I'm like, oh, wait, she has my phone. How did that happen?
And you actually paid a little more for your phone.
I know. I get the cheap ones.
Well, she tries to escape out the window of her room, and the Lamia breaks in and just trashes this place.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And she's like I think she gets slapped around a little bit here too, but after getting attacked, it cuts to her, and she's in the kitchen, and she pulls a knife out of the butcher's block, and she's like, "Here, kitty."
Oh, I hate this.
It's so messed up.
Yeah. No wonder she had to take some shots of tequila just to go to bed.
I guess. Well, we see this. If that doesn't make it worse, it shows her walking up to the cat, and the little kitten is laying in the laundry basket, and it's like so comfortable, and she's like, "Here, kitty, kitty."
Yeah, and I know she doesn't actually kill the cat, but even if I just pretended
to think it
to kill this thing, or any animal, I would just be sick.
Yeah, well, you hear it too. It's like,
yeah,
and then you just cut to her burying something.
Yeah, and then here comes her boyfriend. Here comes Clay.
He comes home and he's like, "Is that blood on you?" And she's like, she makes up some excuse.
Yeah, I think she said it was tomato juice or something.
Oh yeah,
I'm like,
yeah, she's burying it, and he's like, "Look, we have dinner with my parents tonight. We can reschedule it, with everything going on." And she's like, "No, I think everything's gonna be fine now."
Yeah, she's like, "Nope, I sacrificed a cat. I'm good."
Wait, what?
Oh, yeah. Good. The devil's happy, and I can go with you.
Yeah. Well, we cut to the parents' house, and it is nice. It is huge.
Really nice, yeah.
And I noticed this after the fact, but the dad of Justin Long is the guy who played the dad of Charlize Theron in our previous episode, Waking Up in Reno.
Yes.
Where Patrick Swayze works for him, and he's all like, "Well, why the hell weren't you at work today?" And he's like, "Well, I was trying to give you a baby, or grandbaby."
A baby.
And he's like, "Well, that's fine, okay." He's also the pitcher in Major League. I don't know if you've ever seen that with Charlie Sheen.
I have,
But he's always talking about the different shit that he uses on the ball to make it spin, which is highly illegal.
Oh.
They're standing in the locker room, and he's got, like, grease on his shoulder. And he's like, "Oh, sometimes, if I need it to do what I need, I'll reach in and get some grease."
Oh, shit.
He's like, put snot or spit on the ball. That's highly illegal.
Yikes.
So the mom does not like Christine. You know, she seems like a very highly uptight woman.
Yeah, in my notes, I was like, she just seems like a real snob.
Yeah, well, Christine gives her a cake, and she's like, "Oh, you made this?"
Yeah, she's like, it's a harvest cake.
"Yeah, I used to make this all the time." And she's like, "Oh, honey, Christine made a cake."
Yeah.
And this, she's digging herself a hole too, because she's like, "Well, back in, when I was a kid, we would make it around harvest time because that's when the geese would lay their eggs, and
Mm-hmm.
they made a good yolk, the geese egg." She's like, the mom is like, "Geese egg?"
I'm like, what? You put a geese egg?
Which I don't know. I've never tried geese eggs, but I'd be like, "Oh, do they taste okay?"
Yeah, I don't know
I
either.
wouldn't be as disgusted as her, but I'd be like, "I've never had them. Are they good?"
Yeah. And I really like geese, but I like chickens too, and I still eat egg. I don't know.
Yeah,
It's
well,
it's a circle of life.
I guess. Well, they walk past a cat, or her parents' cat, and this cat hisses at Christine, and Justin Long's like, he's like, "I don't get what's wrong with him." And she's like, "Oh, that's okay." She's like, "I had a cat."
And I sacrificed it.
well, she's like, "I had a cat," and Justin Long's like, "Had?" She's like, "Well, the cats come and go. How the fuck do I know?"
Yeah, geez, come, get off me.
So they're all having dinner and stuff, and Christine tells her story because Justin Long's trying to impress his parents, where she's like, "Well, I read a story of how a medical company, was getting started and stuff, and I talked to them and got to know them, and we're doing a big loan for them for the bank, and it'll be like the biggest loan we've ever done." and
Mm-hmm.
and that impresses the mom and dad.
Yeah, and they kind of loosen up a little bit, which I'm just like, man, that's just awful. You can't just go in thinking she's a good person. She has to like prove it to you.
Yeah. I know she's an attractive lady. You're making your son happy, but it's like, she's a good-looking woman. She seems to have her life together. She has a job.
Right. I
She
mean,
she ticks off all the boxes of things that you would want your son to date.
exactly. At least the minor things. And he likes her. So
Yeah.
that's the biggest thing.
And it doesn't matter if she was good-looking, but I'm just saying she doesn't look like rough.
Right.
She doesn't look like she's like using drugs.
Exactly. Yeah, no, I knew what you meant.
So the Justin Long's mom is kind of like, "What about your parents?" And I think she says like her dad died when she was young.
I just have that her mom was an alcoholic.
Yeah, she said my dad. Okay, I've got it here. She's like, after my dad died, my mom didn't speak very much after that. She just stays on her farm,
Yeah,
and the
that's
mom,
right.
yeah, Justin Long's mom's kind of pushing. She's like, "Well, why? What's going on?" And
Mm,
she's like, "My mom's an alcoholic."
get off me.
Yeah, and Justin Long's like, "It doesn't matter. Like, what the fuck is this? It doesn't
Mm.
matter." And Justin Long's mom is like, "Oh, well, I appreciate your honesty." She's like, my dad had a drinking problem,
Oh, wow.
so
She's like, we have something in common.
yeah, and she's like, "Well, I appreciate your honesty. That's very nice." And the mom starts talking very highly of Christine there. And she's like,
Mm-hmm.
"Oh, yeah, we need to do this and this." And this is where Christine starts hearing like knocking on a door.
Yeah.
It's like, "Pow, pow, pow, pow,
It
pow."
doesn't go very well from here. I was so excited for her. I'm like, yeah, she's in. She's winning them. And then I'm like, oh no, there's noises. Oh shit.
Yeah.
Something's gonna happen.
Well, this takes a page out of the It book and movie because Christine's cake, she's eating a piece of it, starts moving.
Oh yeah. Holy shit. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And she's like trying to ignore it. I think she hears like a high pitched whining sound and she's like trying to talk over it. She's like,
Mm-hmm.
"Yeah, what? Uh-huh, yeah." She's like kind of yelling. But the cake moves and the Mrs. Ganush's eye, like her dead eye, opens up in the cake.
Mm-hmm.
And Christine stabs it with her fork.
Fork. Oh my gosh.
And nobody can see it but her, obviously.
Mm-hmm. And this whole time she's just trying to act cool because she doesn't want to seem crazy.
Right. And this is where Christine is sitting there like trying to talk and a fly comes out of her mouth.
Mm-hmm.
And like the parents and Justin Long are just like, "Oh shit."
They kind of look at the cake and they're like, oh, I'm not eating any more of
And the
this.
dad freaks out because he's like, "Oh my god, flies in the cake." Yes. Well, the banging on the door gets so loud that Christine like takes a glass and throws it at the door, and she's like, "I hear you, okay." And they're all just like, okay.
Yeah, I'm sure her boyfriend's like, ah, damn.
Yeah, she's like, "Excuse me, I've got to go." And she starts to leave, and Justin Long starts to follow after her, and his mom's like, "Leave her." She's like, "Just forget about her."
Oh boy.
So she goes to Rom's, the fortune teller, and she's pissed. She's like, "I killed the cat. Like, what else do you want from me?" And he's like, "There's no guarantees when you're trying to do this shit." He's like, "We need to speak to the demon directly." And he's like, "Because the third day, the demon will come for you and take you to hell."
Fuck.
Yeah. He's like, so tomorrow, after tomorrow's over, that's it. And he's like, but I know somebody that can help us. Like, but she will need $10,000 in nondescript bills.
No, yeah, that's what. And then by tomorrow, she needs $10,000.
Yeah, it's fucking crazy. It's like, I know the lady's putting her life on the line, but God, that's a lot of fucking money.
Like, well, I work at a bank. I guess I can borrow some money, quote unquote
Yeah.
borrow.
So she does just that. She goes to the bank to ask her boss for some money, and she's like, hey, for this assistant manager position, can I get like an advance on salary? And he's like, what are you talking about? He's like, your big loan got taken over to another bank. He's like, they got your loan somehow, and now they're dealing with it.
Yeah, so you're not getting the job, lady.
He's like, I'm gonna have to give it to Stu, because apparently, Stu took her loan, took it over to another bank, and gave it over to them.
Yep. What? How? That's awful. That's just the meanest thing.
Yeah, it's fucking ridiculous. Well, so we show her, she's in her attic, she's just gathering everything up that she can possibly get to sell to get this money.
Yes.
And she goes to this pawn shop, and the guy's like, I'll give you $3,500 for it. She's like, but my jewelry.
She's like, but I have stuff in here.
Yeah, she's like, this is worth so much more.
While she's gathering all of her stuff,
oh, yes.
Miss Ganoush does show up.
Yeah, in the attic.
Yeah, and I thought it was funny, and it was like a cartoon. There just happened to be an anvil just tied to a rope that was, secured off, and it was just hanging above Miss Ganoush. So she untied it, and the anvil falls on her head, and then her eyeballs go out of her head and into Christine's face.
Well, also before that too, she screams when she sees her in the attic, and Mrs. Ganoush puts her entire arm up her mouth.
That's right.
Like,
oh,
Blur.
I totally forgot that part too. Up to the elbow.
Yeah. And she's trying to scream, and she gets like a skate, and she cuts the rope. But yes, when we saw this part in the movie, you were like, that's fake. It doesn't look that great.
No, yeah, it totally looked fake. But how do you make that look real?
I don't know.
I think they did the best they could.
Even if they used like a puppet, I would have more respect for it.
Right.
So yeah, she goes to the pawn shop and only gets $3,500 for it, and she's sitting at her house eating ice cream, crying. And I was like, been there.
Yeah, and I'm like, oh, this is a good time for that.
Well, Justin Long comes home and he's like, what are you doing? And she's like, oh, I'm eating ice cream. And he's like, but you're lactose intolerant. She's like, I'm gonna die tomorrow, so I figured, why not?
He's like, screw it.
And Justin Long's like, I paid the guy. I paid him $10,000.
Wow. And I put in my notes like, what a great boyfriend.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just incredible.
Well, yeah, she says it. She's like, why? Like, why would you do this for me after everything that I've been doing? And he's like, the night we first met, I made a promise to myself that I would never let anything happen to you, and I would always be here to watch out for you.
Aw.
Like the very first night they met.
Aw. That's so sweet.
So
and
I imagine
a little soon.
Well, I imagine after the end of this movie, he's in a mental institution.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So shows her he's dropping her off at the house. It's the house from the very beginning.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, can I come in with you? And she's like, no, the lady told me it just needs to be me. And there it is. Yep, she's right in the same house. And she goes in, and I thought she said Sandina was her name.
Oh.
But we're being reintroduced to the lady from the beginning.
Yes. She's just older.
I guess that's her last name. That's how he pronounces it. He says Sandina, because her name in the movie is Sean Sandina.
Oh, okay.
And then she tells the story of how she's had, interactions with this demon before with, like, the young boy and how she failed him.
Yeah, and how she's been waiting for this day. And I'm like, well, if you've been waiting for this day, why do you need $10,000?
Well, I guess she can get something out of it, because she's going to get...
A little pro bono.
I suppose. But yes, she says, I failed him, and I've been waiting so long. And did you bring that money with you?
Yeah. And I'm going to need to count this first.
It's like that scene in the new season of Stranger Things. That Russian guy counts it while he drugs him.
Like, oh my gosh.
So they're walking into the area where the little boy got dragged to hell at the beginning. And it's like they're having a seance in there now. There's like a table set up, and she was like, this house has a particular force for doors to the other world for spirits to pass through. And they sit to have the seance, and this guy, it's Sandina's like second in command or whatever, her helper, he brings in this goat.
Yes. And I'm just like, oh, damn, they're going to sacrifice the goat?
Yeah, because she pulls out this giant knife.
Mm-hmm.
And she was like,
It's like a machete.
yeah, pretty much. She's like, we will force the Lamia into this goat and then we will kill it.
Yeah. Which I'm all like, poor goat.
Yeah.
Looks so nice.
Ron tells Christine, he's like, you have to welcome the dead now into your heart.
Yikes.
And I'll be like, what's the side effects on this? Are there going to be any lasting effects?
Can I just welcome Jesus into my heart? That seems a little safer.
Not here. Not here. But I'm like, yeah, if you welcome the dead, like, can I turn this off later?
You're right. Can I get him out of my heart later?
Yeah, am I going to be waking up in the middle of the night and seeing people? Because that's what happens. They're saying it like, I welcome the dead and everything, and things start moving in the room. This is very Evil Dead. That part where I showed you in the movie where, like, everything's moving, laughing at Ash. Because, yeah, you hear, like, laughing and things are moving, and then you see, like, well, first off, Sandina's like, it's not the Lamia, it's, other ghosts hear it and they're near.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
Because they start to see other ghosts in the room, like people.
And I think she shoos them out. She says something to get them all out of there.
Yeah, she's like, get out of here.
Get out of here.
She says it's unsettled spirits. Yeah. So now, they banish them, but then the room starts kind of moving and creaking again, and she's like, the Lamia has arrived.
Mm-hmm. And I like that it was neat as they're chanting, the camera's kind of panning around the whole table.
Yes.
And that was kind of neat, how it was kind of just showing everybody chanting. I just like that shot.
Yeah, I could go for hours about how Sam Raimi is his camera tricks, because he does this thing where he chases, or the camera rushes, where it's shh, real close. Mm-hmm. He does that. He did that a lot in Evil Dead, where the characters are running, the camera's supposed to be some evil that they're running from. They're like, oh no,
yikes.
So you get a little bit of that where they're at the table and the Lamia is deafening them with a noise, because they're all freaking out, but the camera rushes up to her face. It's shh, and then there's silence, and Sandina gets possessed.
Yeah, I'm like, oh damn, that's not who we need possessed. She's the one that has to do all the wordy stuff.
Yeah, well, Sandina, she opens her eyes and her eyes are all demon looking and stuff, and she may even have pointy teeth.
Yeah, she did, because she showed them.
But she's
she's look at my teeth, they're all pointy.
She's like, I will feast upon your soul, which is definitely Sam Raimi, because he's in Evil Dead. They always say I'll swallow your soul.
Oh, she said, I'll eat your heart out. I didn't do it right, because it's in Little Nicky.
Oh, it's been so long since I've seen that.
He turns over and I'll eat your heart out. Or some kid said that. I don't know. Anyway.
Well, in Evil Dead, he's like, I'll swallow your soul. I'll swallow your soul. But it's funny. Christine's like, it wasn't me. My manager made me do that to you. Right. She's blaming her manager for the deal.
Let's not lie. Now is not a good time to lie. If any time is not good to lie.
Yeah.
Just don't lie to the
devil.
Right
now.
Because he's going to know. He's going to know.
Well, Roms is like, what can we do to appease you? And Christine sees, Sandina has her hand out, and Christine grabs the hand and puts it on the goat like Sandina had told her to do. Mm-hmm. So the spirit of the Lamia passes into the goat. And this is one of the funnier moments in here, because the goat is like, I can't believe you did this to me, you whore.
So funny.
And then he says something, he's like, you bitch.
What is that song with the goat that's screaming?
Oh, the Bon Jovi song?
Yeah.
Oh, that we're halfway there? Yeah.
I think so.
There's a video that we were watching where the goats scream. We're like, wow, we're halfway there.
You gotta Google it, Bon Jovi goat or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. Pull it up. I laughed forever. It was funny. It's funnier if you watch it than what we're saying.
I cannot do the voice of the screaming goats. Yeah, but it's Bon Jovi screaming goats. That should do it. But the goat bites Sandina's, got her helper in the hand, and now he's possessed.
Yeah, because he comes over and tries to set it, or kill it. He comes over with the machete and tries to kill it, but instead cuts the rope that it's tied up to and sets it free, which allows it to bite his arm.
Right.
And I'm just like, how can you not? This is a big goat, and you just hit the tiny little rope that it's tied to?
Yeah.
Well, I get it, it has to happen.
Yeah, so he's possessed, and this is very Evil Dead, Sam Raimi, because this guy starts dancing he's hovering and dancing over the table. It's like,
that was funny.
But it's funny because he's like, I don't want your cat. And he spits the cat back up at her.
Yes. Like out of his mouth. So many things are coming out of people's mouths. It's just crazy.
Yeah. Well, Sandina wakes back up and she banishes the Lamia from the table. And Christine's like, oh my god, it's finally over. And then Sandina falls over and Rom starts doing CPR.
Yeah. I'm like, holy fuck. She probably had like some heart attack or something.
Probably, good lord. She's died.
Oh, which the CPR was absolutely awful.
Oh, really? I imagined it would have been.
I mean, he was so far up on the chest. No, your heart's not in your throat. It's not up there.
Well, you know.
I know. But I'm just like, go down a little. You know, you got to go in between the boobies.
Well, that just shows you how little I know about it. I was like, meh. So she's dead, right?
Yeah,
she did
dies.
die.
Yeah, they show her getting
like in a bag,
in a gurney, and in a bag, and getting hauled off.
Yeah, and Christine is like, "Well, thank God that's over with." And Rom's is like, "What? No, it's not." And he's like, "She couldn't banish the Lamia. She just banished him from the seance that we were doing."
Yikes! Yeah, and then this is when you find out that, you know, you're cursed. You're cursed.
Yeah, he's like, the Lamia will come for you at the end of the night. He's like, this is it, your third day. And he was like, there is possibly a way to get rid of this. He's like, but you're probably not going to like it, is that you can give the button away.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, but that would condemn the other person to hell.
Yeah, that would transfer the curse to that person.
And I'd be like, is Donald Trump coming here?
Oh, no. I'm like, great. Now she has to find somebody to burn in hell.
Yeah.
Like, how?
Mitch McConnell, is he coming around? I'm going to Washington, baby. I'll sleep like a baby after giving this away.
No. I don't care what you did or who you are. I don't think I could. Well, there's one person, but they're already dead.
Yeah. Well, her and Justin Long are driving home, and she tells Justin Long, he's like, well, how did it work? And she's like, yep, it's all over. She's just lying to him. She's like, it's good.
Yeah.
We're good. They almost hit this dude like in the middle of the road. He's crossing the street, and Justin Long slams on the brakes, and like all of her papers and stuff that she's got fall onto the floor. And it's so funny. This guy just goes like, you will burn in hell.
She's like, I'm hoping to avoid that.
Well, she starts to freak out because she's like, oh my god, the button, because the Rom's put it in like a bank envelope.
Mm-hmm.
But she finds it, and she's like, oh, thank God, I found the button.
Right.
So she's sitting at a diner, and she's just contemplating, I'm like, who is she going to give this to?
She's looking around in this just family diner, trying to find somebody to burn in hell.
Yeah, the waitress comes by, and she's like, are you only drinking coffee? And she's like, yeah, just fill it up again. She's like, great, just coffee for tonight. And she's like, if you don't shut your mouth, I'll give you a tip you won't forget. And she's like holding the button at her. And then there's a very sad scene where she sees this dude sitting in a booth, and he's just this old man with oxygen mask on.
Yeah.
And she's like, starts to walk over to give it to him because she's like, well, this guy doesn't have long. But then his equally elder wife comes in and sits in the booth, and it shows that they're like very happy.
Yeah.
And she's like, God damn it.
Like, I can't kill that guy. I think she was thinking, well, he's almost dead.
Yeah, well, like, what if he was a nice dude, though? She's still sending someone to hell.
Still sending him to burn in hell.
So then she has the idea. She gets on a payphone and calls Stu. And she was
Ultimate payback.
Yeah, she's like, I know what you did. And if you don't get here in like 10, 15 minutes, whatever, I'm going to call Mr. Jackson. I'm going to tell him what you did. And I'll go to the police.
Mm-hmm.
So she's waiting in the cafe again, diner, and he shows up and he's like sweating it. Like,
yeah.
And
it's like, oh my gosh, please don't tell on me.
Yeah, he starts crying.
He does.
He's like, oh, please don't tell. He's like, my dad wanted me to work here. He's like, don't tell my dad.
So this made her feel bad, though.
Yeah, because at first she's like, I'm going to give you something, and you accept it, and I won't tell anybody what you did. And he's like, sure, whatever you say, just don't tell my dad.
Yeah.
And then she's like, she's like, get out of here. And he's like, what? You don't want to give me this? And she's like, no. And he's like, you won't tell anybody, will you? And she's like, just get out of here.
He's like, I'm going to hell here in a few hours. Leave me alone.
So she's at the thing, and she sees somebody she sees a newspaper on the counter, and it has the obituary for Mrs. Ganoush in it.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, hello.
Hey.
So she goes back to Rom's, and you just hear, and he's like, nothing in these books that I found say that you can't give a dead person this object.
Yeah, because he said they still have their soul.
Yeah.
Even though they're dead.
He's like, you just have to make sure that it's a gift. You may give it's a formal gift to her.
Or the soul's not dead, just the body.
Yeah. So she's driving to the cemetery, and like again, the handkerchief flies by her window and into their car and like starts choking her, goes down her throat.
In her mouth. Another thing.
Again.
Just, I don't know, just right in her mouth, and she catches it before it goes all the way down and pulls it back out.
A lot of mouth and throat trauma in this.
That's just a lot.
But yeah, she catches it, and she's like right outside the graveyard when she stops.
Mm-hmm.
But it shows her she's dug this grave up, which that would take fucking forever to do.
Which, fun thing about this grave, the dirt for the grave is actually made of mud packs because Allison is so allergic to like everything.
Oh shit.
They couldn't use real dirt, otherwise she would just, hive up all over the place.
Damn,
probably.
yeah.
And the scene took 2 weeks to film.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
2 weeks, holy shit.
Like, wow.
Well, she digs to the ground and eventually hits the casket or the coffin and breaks it open very easily. And she pulls the body up too hard and it like falls on her.
Yeah.
She like pulls it out of the casket and this thing like falls on her, and
I'm surprised more things didn't go in each other's mouths.
well, she pushes the body off of her, and again the body rips out a clump of her hair.
Yeah.
And she's like, "That's the last time you pull my hair out."
Oh my God.
But she stuffs the envelope in the corpse's mouth, and she's like, "Choke on it, bitch!"
Yeah. I'm like, man.
Because I think she's like, "I give this to you as a gift," or whatever.
Yeah, she holds it up, and then the lightning is striking. I mean, it's just perfect.
But now she's stuck because it's raining super hard, and she's stuck in this grave.
Mm-hmm.
And the tombstone, it's this big cross, is her tombstone, and like falls over and hits Christine in the head.
Yeah, and as the grave is getting filled with water, I mean, it's flooding.
Yeah, so she goes under the water, and you're like, oh shit, but she eventually pops back up.
Yeah.
And she's kind of sitting there, and the rain is washing away the dirt on her face, like kind of showing that, like, oh, she's clean now. She's no longer cursed. So she gets home, and she gets a message from her boss, and he's like, found out that Stu was the one who gave the loan to the other bank.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, I only know that because Stu just came to my house telling me that you were the one that did it. And he's like,
oh, wow.
When I pointed out how a lot of his story didn't make sense, he finally broke down and told me the truth.
Oh, man.
He's like, so he's fired, and come Monday, I want to give you this position of the assistant manager.
Yeah, so she's like, whoa, things are really looking up.
So you're like, yeah, it worked. Like, her giving this thing, now things are starting to work out.
Exactly.
So the next morning, she meets Justin Long. She's going to the train station because they're going to go to this cabin that they've talked about.
Go to the cabin in the woods to start the next horror movie.
She walks by this shop and inconveniences this shop owner. They're not open yet.
Yeah.
And she's like showing this lady because her jacket's missing the button. She sees this new jacket, and the lady's like putting something out in the display window, and she's like, can I get this jacket? And she's like, we're not open yet. She's like, I just want to buy that jacket. And next little scene, she's wearing the jacket. So I'm like, I guess she wore that lady down.
I'm like, oh my gosh. As she's going up to him, though, up to Justin Long, he kind of pulls out a box that has a little diamond ring in it. I'm like, oh, he's going to propose.
Yeah. Well, Christine walks up to him and they hug and kiss. And then she's like, I want to thank you for never stopping believing in me.
Yeah.
And always being there for me. And she's like, I was the one who turned that gypsy lady down. She's like, it was my decision, and I made it to turn her down. Mm-hmm. So she's taking responsibility.
Yeah.
But then Justin Long's like, you have a good heart. I'm like, she tells you that, and then you're like, you're a good person.
Yeah,
like,
now I know you're a good person. No,
right.
He knew that. Otherwise, we wouldn't have bought that ring.
So they're talking, and then Justin Long's like, wait a second. I've got something for you here. He pulls out the envelope, and he's like, I found your button for your other jacket. It was in the front seat of my car when your papers fell.
Yikes.
And
all the blood just comes out of her face.
Yeah, she starts freaking the fuck out.
Yep.
She starts backing away from it and falls onto the train tracks.
And I think in this time, this is where they realized that she really had the coin that he gave her, that she gave him.
Oh, because he's like, have you seen my coin?
Yeah. Oh, I don't know. I think maybe it was a flashback or something, but we realized that when everything fell in the floor on the car, she picked up that coin that she gave Justin Long earlier in the movie instead of the button.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Well, she falls on the train tracks, and Justin Long's really bringing it here. He's like, oh God. He's like, someone help me.
Yeah.
Someone. And then much like at the beginning of the movie, the ground opens up and pulls Christine to hell.
Yep.
and the train is like going over, and he can still see her face like turn into a skeleton.
Yeah,
pretty
she was
much.
burning, and he has his arm like reached out, like
Yeah,
trying to grab her, but can't. And the train, and just ah,
yeah, and the ground closes up, and it ends on Justin Long's face. He's like bawling his eyes out. He
yeah.
just seen it, and then credits.
That's why he's going to be in a mental institute. I
Yeah,
mean,
no
it
one will
just
believe him.
wow. The one thing I thought too, since Justin Long had the button, I thought he was the one that was going to get dragged to hell.
Oh yeah, that would have made a crazy change. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But it was her, and I'm just kind of like, well, okay, she had the curse, so that's that.
No punches pulled. She gets dragged to hell.
Yes.
But I think this is a really good Sam Raimi movie. Like it's it's got silliness in there. It's got scary horror in there. I think it ends. It's not a happy ending.
No, not a happy ending at all. I mean, it's a horror movie, so
Yeah.
there we go.
So did you like it watching this time?
I did.
Yeah.
Yeah, and going through it was really neat just to remember all the different shots and just how the movie was made. It's really cool.
But I really enjoyed it. I
Yeah.
really liked it, and it's Sam Raimi. I think after this or whatever, he went and did later the Great Oz, the Great and Powerful, which was not a good movie.
Mm.
It's about Oz before Dorothy shows up, about the witches and everything, and I don't know why he decided to do that, but boy, it was not a good movie.
Oh, man.
James Franco's in there, and we know what a piece of shit he is now, with all the harassment and shit that was going around.
Goodness.
But I loved it, and we need to watch Evil Dead. I don't think you've ever seen the Evil Dead movies, have you?
I haven't.
The first one, you don't really have to watch. I mean, you can. It's more of a straight-up horror movie, but the second one kind of covers everything again, but does it a little differently. They had some more money. They decided to do everything a little bit because they could do it better.
Right on.
But the third one is like an out-and-out comedy, pretty much. But yeah, Sam Raimi, I love him. Like I said, I grew up watching the Evil Dead movies, so I love him so much. And when he does stuff like this that's kind of similar, I'm all like, oh, cool, he's doing it again.
Yeah, that's awesome. So we normally announce what we're going to do next, but we're going to be doing that more on social media.
Yes.
Because we want you to join us on social media. We're, again, like I said at the beginning, we're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Tumblr. You can also email us at thefilmobsessedcouple@gmail.com. Pretty much anything. Let us know who you are and, if you like us or not.
Yeah.
And all of that stuff. But yeah, we're just trying to build here. So we'd like you to come and join us on one of those social media platforms. And we post what we're doing next. I also post, like, if I see something neat that's coming up in movies or something crazy, I'll just post it and just something fun about a movie or something.
Yeah, we'll be a little more active and showing what we're going to be doing there. So keep an eye out on that and say hello. And we're at thefilmobsessedcouple@gmail.com. You can, like we mentioned at the top, you can say hello to us there, give us feedback, or recommend other things for us to watch. Because I know movies, I feel like I know quite a bit, but there are ones that I don't.
Right.
Like, I was born in the 80s, so, like, movies from the 80s that are out there, unless I, like, have been told about them, I know there's a lot that I've missed. So, 80s, 70s, whatever, just let us know. We'll watch it.
Yeah, and thanks for listening. We really appreciate it.
Yes, thank you guys. We appreciate it, and we look forward to what we're going to be doing next.
All right, bye-bye.